The Minnesota Vikings are currently 3-2 as I record this video, and they are still the biggest mystery in the NFL. And the reason why I say that is because of one man, JJ McCarthy. The last time that we saw JJ live in-game action with the Minnesota Vikings was a few weeks ago against the Atlanta Falcons. He suffered a high ankle sprain in that matchup. Now, he was able to finish out the game, but he's missed the last 3 weeks dealing with that injury. Earlier this week, he was cleared for practice, and he was able to take some reps, but he did miss a day of practice. It was raining conditions. That came down to Kevin O'Connell. He did not want to rush him into a bad situation and rush him back from injury. So this upcoming week, week 6, is a bye week for the Minnesota Vikings. So it's very important for JJ to still get more rest, and the same with a bunch of their offensive linemen. They're dealing with injuries as well. But before I get into JJ and how he could potentially look long-term with the Minnesota Vikings, I want to give Carson Wentz his flowers. Now, I'm not surprised by Carson Wentz going out there and being 2-1 with this roster. This is a very good roster that the Minnesota Vikings have with Jordan Addison, TJ at the tight end position, Justin Jefferson. And we've seen Kevin O'Connell, the work that he's been able to do with Kirk Cousins in the past, who was a veteran coming over from the then Washington Redskins, now Washington Commanders. He just helped revitalize the career last year with Sam Darnold. Kevin O'Connell is one of those coaches. He's one of the best offensive coaches in the league, and he's a QB whisperer. But Carson Wentz has played very good football, safe and efficient, and when you need him to throw the football deep down the field, he'll throw it with very good touch and very good accuracy. The one negative on Carson Wentz and his career, he was very inconsistent with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was a turnover machine in certain situations. That hasn't been the case here in Minnesota. That first win against the Cincinnati Bengals, that's one of the best wins of the season. They beat the Bengals 48-10, and a lot of Bengal fans may say, we didn't have Joe Burrow. We were out our starting quarterback. We had Jake Browning. The same here for the Minnesota Vikings. Carson Wentz, he's a backup quarterback. And look at the coaching difference. Kevin O'Connell realized we can play through our defense, we can play through our special teams, and I have my team prepared to face the Cincinnati Bengals. That was not the case with Zach Taylor and the Bengals. But Carson Wentz in this matchup against Cincinnati, efficient, 2 passing touchdowns, 14-20, 173 passing yards. Carson Wentz realized I could just dump the football off to my playmakers with Justin Jefferson, with TJ at the tight end spot. You need me to throw the football deep down the field, I'll do it. But I'm not going to force the issue here. Isaiah Rodgers had one of the best games that a defender could ever ask for in this league. A pick 6 and a fumble for 6. As I record this video, he's the Defensive Player of the Year candidate right now. And we're just 5 weeks into the season, but he's been phenomenal. So Carson Wentz did not put this team behind the 8 ball with bad turnovers and bad sacks in this matchup, and they were down without some of their starting offensive linemen. The next week against the Steelers, this loss was not on Carson Wentz. You did lose this matchup 24-21, but Carson Wentz, 30 of 46. Anytime you ask for a quarterback to have over 40 pass attempts in this league, you're asking for trouble. That means that your run game is not working, or you're down by so many points because things just went awry in this game. And that was the case here. But he was 30 of 46, 350 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 1 interception was on Carson Wentz. The other interception was not. He throws a football middle of the field. The receiver's wide open. It's the right read. But this offensive line has been dealing with so many injuries. They've been decimated. Here comes Cameron Hayward. He tips the football up at the line of scrimmage. It goes for an interception. That is not on Carson Wentz, in my opinion. And he got sacked 6 times in this game. He got hit 18. That was the case that they ran into with JJ McCarthy with the Atlanta Falcons. But yet you were still bouncing back in this matchup. You were down 24-6. And the one thing that I would like to bring up here, the Minnesota Vikings players, they've basically gravitated towards Carson Wentz over these last 3 weeks. You look at the New York Giants with Russell Wilson. They didn't gravitate towards him like that. Anytime he'll go out there and get a big play, you see the sideline, they're happy for Carson Wentz. They celebrate with him. And the reason why I bring that up, they're willing to fight with him all the way to the very last end. And that's just a character that a lot of these Minnesota Viking players have. The same with Justin Jefferson. In that first game against the Chicago Bears, he was not getting frustrated with JJ. JJ said, don't give up on me. Justin Jefferson said, I'm not going to give up on you. And we know what happened in the fourth quarter. More on that moment in the next couple of minutes here. But that helps out your entire team when you have high morale with the head coach and the same with your defensive coordinator. It's one of the best coaching staffs in football. But this matchup was not on Carson Wentz. And to see you bounce back in this game and try to fight to the very last end was a very good effort. And they carried it over against the Cleveland Browns because they were never out of this game against Cleveland. And they were down in this game. A game-winning drive for Carson Wentz. That last drive is how he looked with the Philadelphia Eagles. Many years ago before he tore his ACL, he was 25 of 34, 236 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and that went to Jordan Addison. And it's important to note, Jordan Addison missed the first couple games dealing with a suspension because of something that happened off the field. And we did not see much of Jordan Addison early on in this game. But late in the fourth quarter, that man was clutch. And now you have 1A and 1B back on your roster. We all know that Justin Jefferson, in my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in the game. If you don't think that he's the best wide receiver, he has to be one of the best wide receivers. Then you have Jordan Addison. On most teams in the league, he'll be a number 1. And you have both those players together now. It should open up your run game. It should open up everything for the quarterback to clearly see the field. But I just want to give Carson Wentz his flowers and give him his credit here in general. And the play calling early on in this matchup against Cleveland was perfect. A bunch of short passes over and over again with Kevin O'Connell. Then they started to set up for some of those intermediate routes with TJ and the same with Justin Jefferson. That is how you go out there and that's how you adapt your game plan when you're dealing with injuries up front and you cannot run the football consistently early on in that matchup. But now let's talk about JJ McCarthy. Because it's important to bring this up. This is a player that missed all last season as a rookie. The plan from the start was to have him sit behind Sam Darnold and learn. But he tore his meniscus, so it wasn't the same situation. With most rookies, Aaron Rodgers in the past behind Brett Favre, Jordan Love in the past behind Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes behind Alex Smith, they're fully healthy. They may play in the preseason, but we know for majority, if not all of the regular season, we're not going to see them that much unless we just see a bunch of blowouts that year for that particular team. You get to sit back. You get to take second team reps. You're essentially the backup quarterback. You may be even the third string quarterback, but you're still taking reps. He could not take reps last year because he was recovering from that injury. So that's a lost year in his career. So most people think, well, JJ got to sit back and learn. That's partially true. Not completely. He's just on the sideline watching the game with the headset in his ear and looking at the playbook. He's still watching. He's still learning from Sam Darnold, but it's different. When you get to make those mistakes in practice, you get to realize in game, when it's live action against a team like the Packers or the Lions in this division, hey, I realized Jonathan Gennard was coming in from this direction. If that happened with Aiden Hutchinson, I could flip off this way, I could twist around, and I can make this throw. He wasn't able to get that action last year, even in practice. So essentially, year 2, it is his sophomore year, but he is still basically a rookie, in my opinion. It's his first time having live game action, and you guys can look at it differently, but that's how I view him. So those first 3 quarters against the Bears, he looked slow, he looked sluggish, he looked rusty. He didn't look good, but he learned. That fourth quarter was amazing. He looked like a franchise quarterback in the fourth quarter. And I said this then, I'm going to say it again. It takes more than just 1 quarter to be a successful quarterback in this league long term. He dealt with a lot of pressure in this matchup, but the play calling was better. It's also important to bring up Jordan Addison was not available in this matchup. So his 2 top receivers were Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. And Adam Thielen has not done much this season for the Minnesota Vikings just yet. But you have Justin Jefferson, who is sticking with him all the way through. In the fourth quarter, he delivers a dime to Justin Jefferson, middle of the field in the back of the red zone. He has that rushing touchdown that helped put them over the edge, over the Bears in this matchup. In 2 games this season, he has 1 rushing touchdown, 301 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Now, the interception he threw against the Bears and went for a pick 6, he learned from that. He was very late on the out route. You can't have moments like that. And against the Atlanta Falcons, this has been the worst game of his young career so far. But once again, he got sacked 6 times. He was 11 of 21, 158 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had little to no time inside the pocket. Does JJ need to be better? Yes. But it's going to be very interesting with the Minnesota Vikings right now because you have so much talent. We know that this team can make the NFL playoffs for sure. They're one of the better teams in this division, and this is a very tough division with the Lions and the Packers. But if JJ continues to struggle, do you stay with him or do you go back to Carson Wentz? I look at it from this standpoint. You drafted this kid in the first round. Last year was a lost year. This is not an Anthony Richardson situation. He's not this developmental quarterback in terms of he can't go out there and identify certain coverages. He can't slide the offensive line protection. He did that against the Bears. He did that against the Atlanta Falcons. He did the little things very well. They just sent so much pressure and the offensive line was beat up from the interior. He just had little to no time inside the pocket. So he can protect himself. You stick with him, even in the bad moments, and you hope that he can learn from those moments and he can be better. Because the upside long term is higher with JJ than it is with Carson Wentz. Now, if he's going out there and he can't protect himself and he's getting injured like how Anthony Richardson was with the Indianapolis Colts, then you go with Carson Wentz. You try to save him from being injured. And that's been the case right now in practice. They don't want him to deal with any more injuries. But you let him go out there and you let him go through the motions. With the players that he has alongside him and with this defense, he should be a very good and productive quarterback throughout the season. Aaron Jones is also dealing with an injury. He's missed the last few games, but hopefully you can get him back soon. You can mix him back in that backfield with Jordan Mason, who's added that juice in the backfield. They have missed that speed component for some time with the Minnesota Vikings now. Aaron Jones is still a very good physical running back, but you need those big splash plays on the ground. You know who to go to. You go to Jordan Mason. You need someone to catch the football in the open field. You go to Aaron Jones. And that's what he did against the Chicago Bears. It's a very good 1-2 punch there. Jordan Mason is younger. He has less hits on his body, while Aaron Jones has dealt with injuries over the last few years with the Green Bay Packers. That's why they moved on from Aaron Jones in the first place. So you get him back. The offensive line, something has to change here. Hopefully these players can just stay fully healthy. Donovan Jackson has been a very good rookie, but he's missed some time. He was out in today's matchup against the Cleveland Browns. Hopefully you can get him back over this bye week. Ryan Kelly, he went down with yet another concussion. He's on IR right now. Whenever you deal with a bunch of injuries, especially head injuries, it's okay to take time to yourself. Fully heal from that, still take a couple weeks off and come back into the game plan. I think that Ryan Kelly, when he's fully healthy, he'll be a very good center long-term with the Minnesota Vikings. And it's the reason why they brought him over from the Indianapolis Colts in free agency. They wanted a dominant run presence in the middle of this offensive line, something that they haven't had in a very long time. And you need that in this conference. There are so many good defensive tackles like Dexter Lawrence. The same with the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. That's why this team has lost in the NFL playoffs over the last few years, especially with Kevin O'Connell. They can't win up front at the line of scrimmage. Now you bring in better players. Hopefully they can just stay healthy up front. Will Fries has been a very good right guard. And you have Brian O'Neill. He's dealing with some injuries. Hopefully he can stay fully healthy. I'm telling you, this has been a revolving door with this offensive line because of injuries, but the talent is there. And you have Christian at the left tackle position. We know that he's one of the best players at his position. So offensively, as long as that offensive line is fully healthy, JJ should be fine. Just deal with the punches with him. And I think that he'll be a very good quarterback. I'm not saying that he'll be a superstar, but I do believe that he will be a very good quarterback in this system. And look at the work Kevin O'Connell has done in the past. Now with Carson Wentz, Kirk Cousins, and the same with Sam Darnold. And the reason why they were so infatuated with JJ, he can run around and make plays with his legs. He has to protect himself in the open field, but he can run around and make a lot of good athletic plays, something those other quarterbacks can't do in the same degree as JJ. Sam Darnold can move around, but that's not his forte. We've seen JJ move around at the college level with Michigan. We saw this in week 1 against the Chicago Bears. He has his legs. I'm not saying that he's a dynamic runner like Lamar Jackson and the same with Josh Allen, but he can move around if you're not careful. And the defense here, you have Brian Flores. Enough said. Jonathan Gennard is the best pass rusher on this roster. He's still a very good player. Jonathan Allen, very good run stopper. He can push the pocket. The same with Javon Hargrave. The Russian defense needs to be better, but it's a Brian Flores defense. He's going to blitz the hell out of you every single chance that he gets. Andrew Van Ginkel, he's missed time this year, but we know that Andrew Van Ginkel, he's one of the better linebackers in the NFC. He can rush the passer. He can cover the opposing offensive space, far as running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. As long as he's fully healthy, the linebacker spot will be okay. You have Isaiah Rodgers, who has been a phenomenal cornerback this point in time in the season. Byron Murphy, another very good player. Harrison Smith is still holding things down at the safety position. And you have Josh. This is a very good secondary and a phenomenal front seven that can get to the quarterback. And you have the run stoppers there. A lot of it is just bad gap responsibility early on this season. but I do believe that the rushing defense will be better. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Minnesota Vikings, and how do you think JJ will fare with this team for the rest of the season if he can stay fully healthy? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.